Hey guys, welcome to this episode of In the Trenches. Our guest today is a seasoned music video and commercial producer. In fact, she and I have been in the trenches many times on my jobs. We're very lucky to have her as she's one of the busiest producers working in Nashville today. But I want to remind you all, please like, share, and subscribe if you're digging the content. So let's jump into it with Christen Pinkston. Thank you so much for being here. This is awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you. We have the it producer with us, in my opinion, right? No offense to you, Troy. I love you. I was actually last night doing a little research, because like we've worked together in the past, but I was just like going through just to familiarize myself with jobs we've done, and I'm like, nope, Troy. Dang it, Troy, we've been busy. But anyway, thanks for being here.
Yeah,
and we have had. I love what you said the other day when I asked you if you'd want to be on. You're like, at the end of the text, you said, "Well, and we have sure been in the trenches together." Which it made me think, yes, we have. And you, of all, producer who works with so much talent, both the musicians or the artists, as well as directors.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Clough, Wes Edwards, Patrick Tracy, Sean Silva, Dustin Haney.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking cream of the crop of directors right now that are running the game. Of course, Sean Silva, a legend. He's been doing it from the beginning.
Yep, for sure.
So thank you again for being here. And of course, we're probably, how far are we right now from where you grew up in Hendersonville?
I mean, 10 minutes down the road.
10 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Did you go to school at Swift?
She was a year younger than me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did.
Was she at Hendersonville High?
She was.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. We were there together.
That's fun. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's. I like to jump right in.
Yeah, love it.
So was producing always the target when you said, look, this is what I want to do for a career. I live in Nashville and I'm gonna go to be a producer. Was that, or is it you kind of fell into it?
So not at all, actually. I always knew I wanted to be in the music business. So in high school, I knew I was gonna study the music business in college.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up at MTSU and was kind of deciding from there, like, do I want to work at a label? Do I want to be in management? So I procrastinated on my internship because you had to have an internship to graduate.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh gosh, what do I do? And my dad had worked in the music business in Nashville years earlier.
Okay. And
he knew Randy Brewer. And he was like, well, I mean, I can get in touch with Randy and, see if he has anything left.
Sure.
So Randy did him a solid and got me in last minute. And I was like, I mean, it's a production company. Like they do music videos, so it's kind of in the music business. So,
Sure.
Okay, sure. I need us to graduate. Let's do it. This is going to be great. And I got on the crazy train of production and that's how it happened.
Yeah.
I was like, this is what I'm doing. And after my internship, I hung around the office, worked for free.
Yeah.
I spent hours in their basement organizing paperwork, going through their binders, just hanging around, hoping that, I get a gig.
Yeah. So was you, I would say the normal path to being a producer, and again, we're talking more of in the short form, music videos, commercials, to say. So that path, I've always known it to be kind of PA. Yes, you're in the basement, you're working them hours, you're the first there, last to leave. Your pay is questionable as how much you want to get paid versus how much effort you're doing. Then you move into that office. You're lucky to be in the production office where you're a coordinator. Mm-hmm. Now you're taking the waterfall orders from producer to PM to you, and you're now delegating and making relationships, right, and stuff like that, and then PMing and producing. Was that your path?
100%. And I feel really lucky that when I came up, that was still the path.
That's my third question. That's exactly it.
That was still the path. And I learned so much. And I started as an intern, then I PA'd, then I coordinated, then I PM'd for a long time. And then I started producing. And the amount of people that I worked under really shaped me as a producer. I worked under Jen Ansell, Tamron Hedge, April Dace, Iris Baker, Michelle Abnett. I worked under them all and learned something different from each one of them as a PA coordinator.
They each had their own superpowers. Yes. Exactly. Those were
heavy
reputable, heavy hitter producers. Yes, for sure.
So I feel really lucky that I was able to come up in that way.
Yeah. Do you feel like that traditional come up may be a little bit of a rarity nowadays? Possibly we can discuss it, but possibly because there's so many more needs for assets to be made, hence produced. Now, those assets aren't necessarily big budget assets, but so therefore now, but they still have to be produced.
Right.
Okay. So now you have possibly, we'll discuss it, in more of an influx of maybe people who aren't quite ready yet for that, or maybe they are ready for that small responsibility, right? You see, it's not we're not talking whatever the video you just did for Cody and Carrie Underwood, horses and wild Mustangs and you know what I mean, like in the desert, getting everything. We'll talk about all that, but there's levels to it. Do you feel because of that there's we're getting more of a producer who may be less seasoned?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you bring a good point where some content for Instagram doesn't necessarily need the experience of 15 years in the business for a producer.
No.
Or
for that matter, even a director.
Yeah, really anybody on set.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, we're talking totally different, in a way, not a medium, but a different, output.
Yeah, different
right?
avenue.
I mean, it's a different, At some point, though, you had to, you were, when you finally got that step into a producer role, right? You've worked your way up from PA coordinator to PM, and that's got to be a nerve-wracking leap. And actually, I know it is. I've dated girls that have, one of my girlfriends was a coordinator and then PM, and she moved into producing. It was a whole different level of stress, pressure, time suck, everything, and
100%.
But you have to kind of curtail some of those jobs. You're going to take every job at the beginning, more or less, because you just want to get that knowledge, build those relationships with those directors and vendors and all that. But like we were talking about when you came in, there's got to be a slowdown, more of a focus.
100%. So I used to say being a PM is so much better than being a producer because
I've heard that all. Yes,
you make good money still.
Yeah.
And the pressure, you still have the pressure, but if everything fails, they don't look at the PM, they look at the producer.
Yes.
So as a producer, not to dive too deep right away, but it is a whole different ball game as far as what you are willing to give.
What do you mean? Sacrifice?
Sacrifice. Yeah. The last almost 15 years of my life have been dedicated to my career.
Yeah.
And it's because I care so much and because I wanted it so badly. It's...
And that's why you got the big directors wanting to work with you.
Well...
Because they see that.
I appreciate you saying that.
Many other things, but I will say from my standpoint, I am one of those questions. What is it like working with me? But seriously, I am I want to know that my team cares as much as I do. And you were last to leave a lot. And that's not always the case, meaning
Right.
you wanted to make sure that it was buttoned and you're out the door.
Right.
You know, that's just, you saw things through post.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's
You didn't just dip out and let
Right.
the director, hence production company, figure it out with who they've got. But wait a minute, you and your team have been making the deals and making the schedules and such to then dip out. I love that about you, and that's an old school taught thing. I mean, you can tell you were taught by veterans.
Yeah, I mean, it's from the inception to when it's delivered and the last check is written. I mean,
Exactly.
it's
All the way through color.
Yeah.
You're in the bay.
Yes.
Why? Because if the bay goes over and the director, Kristen.
Right. Exactly.
But if you're not there, and too often nowadays it's not.
Yeah.
You know, producers are out when the job is kind of done, or they're double dipping into another. They're already in the other. Now, I don't say
Sure.
double dipping is a bad thing. I'm saying they're in on another job now, and they have to kind of.
Well, and I think that's kind of where maybe I got into trouble with myself and with how much I was willing to give to the projects, because I would, you're ending one and you're starting another, but you have to make each project feel like they are the top priority.
Yeah.
So you're always, as an independent producer, you're always going to be working on multiple projects, but the important thing is to make sure that certain client feels like they are top priority.
Yeah.
What I was saying about the last 15 years of my life, I mean, I gave everything to the business. And I'm glad that I did. And I'm glad that I worked really hard, and I don't regret any of it, because I think it set me up to now be able to design my life a little bit more.
Sure.
But it's interesting because it's not so much like that anymore. With kind of the content that's being created, like you said, it just, some of it doesn't require as much.
Does that allow you time then to slow down or be more picky? I mean, as a producer, do you ever feel like you can't get off of rotation from a director? You know what I mean? Like when you're getting on that run,
Yeah.
You don't want to just jump out of that, because that job has to be replaced.
Right.
And
Right.
well, I'll call it out there. Once you're out of rotation, it's kind of sometimes hard to get back in.
Yes. I mean,
And I've always worried about that. And
Yeah.
even I know DPs. Holy hell.
yeah.
I could ask 10 out of 10 DPs and they will all say yes.
Yeah. I mean, you're as relevant as the work that you're doing
Yeah.
with that person. So that's another thing. It's like you take on as much as you can, and you have to be careful, because you don't want to take on too much and then drop the ball, know.
That's me.
Sorry.
No, you don't. I mean, because then if you drop the ball, well, as a producer, that's probably one of the worst things you can do.
I mean, it's just awful.
All of a sudden, you forget you don't have a location agreement or something.
Or you didn't cast a certain extra, or you didn't schedule someone to pick up catering or something. You're just like,
a lot of folks don't quite understand the amount of detail and specifics that go into your job, and how difficult your job is on many different levels. But mainly, here's what I think about a lot. You kind of have to have an allegiance to the director, the production company, and the record label. Meaning, every one of those big entities need to feel like you got their best interest.
correct.
And all three of them are different. One wants to save money for their side. One wants to either stay on budget or preserve money for their side. And then the director just is kind of like, I want, and I want this, and now I don't want to sacrifice.
Right.
You really have to be a chameleon to deal with all the personalities
Yes.
that you have going on, because that's also crew members. You're on a tech scout and the director's barking at you. I need. Let's just get let's just get the orders in. Next thing you know, your orders are coming through the, you know what I mean? What is that like? I mean, is that one of your, like, as a producer, I would think to be a chameleon has to be one of the most high up there traits.
You definitely have to listen to a lot of people. You have to appreciate everybody's perspective on set. And you have to internalize that and then decide what's the best way to move forward. And there is a lot of, like I said, you want to make sure everyone feels heard. You want to make sure everyone feels important and knows that their perspective is being heard. So yeah, it is kind of like being a chameleon. But one thing that I think me and Wesley, my business partner, do really well is put a group together. We hire certain people. You know, we don't necessarily have like, oh, I hire this gaffer every single video that I use. I hire this DP every single video that I do. We hire this person It's more about, okay, let's look at the job as a whole and who's going to work together really good on these jobs. And that makes it easier for everyone to work together as a team. Now, something that's become a little bit easier is that the directors own production companies now.
Yep.
So I don't have a production company breathing down my back about the budget. It's essentially like, well, if you want a crane, then you're going to pay for it.
Yeah, you get a crane.
You can have it, but you're going to pay for it.
I know that one too well.
Yeah. So, but that can also be difficult because our clients, I really care about them as people and their families.
Yes.
And I'm like, it pains me sometimes to see them spending their own money on these things. But it's just like this like gray area and this line that you just have to be like, okay, I'm going to present you these options and it's going to cost this much and you're going to spend this much of your own money. But all that to be said, it still is, it's less pressure than like a production company, like getting really pissed off at you because you're over budget.
I mean, at this point, while we're on the personality thing, it's like, I can only imagine going from different director to different director. Because like, how does that, budgets.
Yeah.
If you're doing a budget for me, you're going to attack that budget in a very specific way that is tailored to your experience and what you know that I need to deliver.
Yes.
So every time you do work with a different director, you have to go into a mental, emotional Rolodex of that director so that you can align the budget so he or she can do 100%, that, right?
100%. Some directors tend to spend more money in art department. Some tend to spend more money on lighting. Some tend to need more VFX. So yeah, 100% each. It's not one size fits all.
No, and it's never even a budget. A budget is never done when you're done. When you say it's done, I mean, you know how many times we revise and revise and revise, and that's frustrating because at some point the creative can't come down anymore. You're at the threshold. So if you want to do the job, you know where you're cutting from.
Right.
And that's where directors started to have their own production companies because we want to know where the money is going, but now we have an extra 15% to play with because we are addicted to the creative. So we say, throw that in there. Let's go. More film. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's why.
Right.
There really is no other reason. They just want to have more of
control over the project in general, which makes total sense. Now the hard conversations start to happen when it's like, okay, well, this is a budget. We can't cut it down anymore unless we start cutting creative. Now I have to take it to the label. And now I play bad cop all the time. All the time. And I tell my business partner all the time, I'm like, every video commissioner in Nashville hates me.
Yeah.
Like, they see my name attached to something, like, great.
Director's always like, I don't know. This is where we're at. Just see what they've got. See what they've got. I don't know.
So that's one of the harder parts of the job. And yes, the budgets, it's like, sometimes you just feel like you're wasting your time when you do that first one.
I know.
You're like, I'm doing
You're just
this.
shooting things out. Like, really? And I know, Troy, if we had you on a mic, do we have you on? Oh, man. It's stupid stuff, man.
Yeah.
Trying to dwindle down a budget, and you're like, okay, cool. Sweet. How much was that? $700.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
I need to chop 17 grand?
I know. It truly is. It's a part of the gig, but it's a not fun part of the gig.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
What is the first area? I don't know. I'm just going up. What is the first area directors in your experience like to cut from in their gear? Would it be AD? I'm the first to chop an AD. But that's also because I do jobs now. What's one of my questions? But yeah, I prefer certain kind of jobs now. But is there a certain checklist?
No, none of them want to cut from anywhere.
Love it. I would say, you know what? One of the worst things a producer can say to a director, in my opinion, is no.
No. I knew you were going to say no.
So how do you feel like as a producer, do you feel you're more of a problem-solving producer or a come in on budget producer? Both very needed. But one can lean towards problem solving. Okay, we can't afford that. Pink elephant. But what if we did it through a painting that we can go have made or whatever? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're like, you know, in the way you persuade and the way you can present, the director would be like, all right, I got you.
Yeah.
And that's problem solving creatively.
I'm definitely not a no person.
No, you've learned. I'm sure you've learned over the years. You just
I'm not a no producer, and a lot of it is because I am most of the time really invested in the visual. I want it to look good. It's not just like all right, I'm going to do this job and get a check and move on. I am invested in the visuals. So I want to make it work. So definitely it's about problem solving. It's about trying to move money around. It's about what can we lose here potentially, but you know, you could still have your pink elephant. But to be quite honest, here in the past couple years, really what it has come down to is like, well, do you want to spend your own money for this? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I never want to say no, and we want to figure out as much as we can, and find a solution because yeah, I mean, me and Wesley, my business partner, we definitely want it to look good, and we're people pleasers. Yeah. We want the director to get what they want. Yeah. We want the label to be happy. We want the artist to be happy.
Of course.
And that's a huge part of it.
You've mentioned Wesley. Let's give Wesley his flowers. Yes, Wesley is an amazing producer as well. He's helped you, or you're a partner together. Yeah. Where and how or why did that form from you when we worked together individually, Christen, to now you have a business partner? What shaped that, or what caused that in your business to want you to do that?
So we started working together, and I was hiring him a lot as my PM, and then it got to a point where it's just like, and he was already a producer in his own right, but he was just so good. It's like I wanted him on every job that I was doing as support. And it got to a point where it's just like, I don't want to do this without you anymore. Cool. And if we join forces, we can take on more work, but it also allows us the opportunity to, okay, I have a doctor's appointment this day, but there's a meeting. Well, Wesley can be in that meeting and I can keep my doctor's appointment. I don't have to reschedule it for another 3 months.
Yeah, you don't have to live your life so lean.
Yes. So it gave us flexibility. In that part of our lives, which was a game changer. I didn't have that before. Yeah. You know, I just didn't. It was just like work came first. And if there was a vacation and work came up, vacation's over.
I know.
Yeah.
And if you're like me, if you haven't worked in a little while, just book yourself a really nice vacation, because it will. Certainly Murphy's Law. You will book a job on that vacation.
Yeah, I mean, and now I took 2 vacations this year, and Wesley covered us for. I mean, we had big jobs happening, and you know, Wesley
You're doing
covered
the
them.
biggest jobs. When I see this like, you know, crazy production, I'm like just waiting. There's Christen.
But it is really it's helped, and he's been able to take a vacation, and it's nice.
It's good to have, you know, a little bit of breath.
And well, it's nice to have a buddy.
Oh, shit,
you know,
yeah.
it's nice to have a buddy. It's nice to like just also like. I went so long with feeling the immense pressure of every job. I mean, I remember talking to some of my producer friends, like, I'm waking up in the morning sick to my stomach. As soon as I wake up, I'm sick to my stomach with all of the pressure. I go to bed at night before a shoot, and I'm just running through every line item.
What's the pressure you're feeling that something's going to get dropped?
Yes.
And you might have you were going so focused on something over here that you might have missed something here. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's important to note to the listeners that everything from, you could have the job ready to go in the morning, everything's set, everything's awesome, but you might have not thought about that the stake bed can't make it up a hill.
Right.
And now all your gear can't get up to the top. Mm-hmm. And mm-hmm. you're now coming up with this massive put out fire on location. You know what I mean? It's the littlest thing.
Yes.
Can be massive. Mm-hmm. And honestly, most of the time it is. Yeah. You know, you're not lying awake at night wondering if the sushi's going to be there on time. It's not that kind of stuff.
No, it's,
you know, you're talking like, do you have an example of a job that you might have done that just was like, holy God, and it came out great or whatever, but like, wow, you were overwhelmed with the production? Oh my gosh. Which one?
Yeah, I mean, they all have their things.
They do.
And, you know, impending doom, fear, I don't really, you know, I experienced that some, mm-hmm. but this is more like back when I was doing it by myself, and it was tough. I'm trying to think of a specific job. I mean, honestly, there was something on all of them. It's almost like every job.
I hear you.
Every job the night before, you're just sitting there like, what is going to go wrong?
Well, that's a perfect segue into our first job, which was for Yellow Wolf. 3 videos in 3 days, at which was my first attempt, really, at lower budget, or at least lower budget for me, or even that kind of volume of shooting and all that stuff. Right. That was a hard shoot. That was a really hard one, because I still have what I want to see. Mm-hmm. But when you don't have the money, especially when you're spread out over 3 days, mm-hmm. it really takes a toll, and it takes a certain kind of creative. Those videos were all on one premise, or one location, designed for a reason. Do you remember any fun stories on that one? I do remember you and me huddling when we were doing the fire through the porch.
That's specifically what I remember. Is that, which I won't do fire without pyrotechnics anymore.
No, that was. I mean, it was. I'll take risks. Let's put it out there. And we got to the last shot. I think we were shooting more or less in sequence, and it was sunset-ish. And we needed. I was thinking, when Wolf comes out of the house, he torches the whole house on fire with gasoline, water. But then he comes out and just lights a cigarette and throws it, or drops it, mm-hmm. and drives away on his Harley. And then we needed a few shots of the fire going up the porch, and no pyro. I mean, we had poured a crap ton of gasoline. Remember, you and I were like, "That's good. It's a fire. We got enough," and we lit it. And you were nervous because it was a lot of dry. It was dry everywhere.
It was dry, and the grass was tall.
Yeah, and looking back now, I didn't respect how fast things can catch and get out of control.
Correct.
I just didn't.
Correct.
Well, we did it, and I think the funny thing about doing it was I was the one who stepped on the fire. We did it like, that's enough, we got it. And literally, I was to the frame. We almost didn't have enough because the extra was me stepping on the fire. I was really nervous too.
I mean
that house could have gone up, and it was bad. It would have been bad. And you talk about it like, dude, the whole house can go on fire. I guess in the creative moment, you're so juiced on telling the story that you don't think it's not going to turn on fire, Yeah. But you have that split second when you're about to do it, and then it just kind of, you saw how fast it caught. Ooh.
Those are learning moments.
Those are learning moments. I call it the birth of no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was the birth of no.
Yeah.
For me, I learned no. Mm-hmm. So the sun is setting. Let's figure out another solution. So be it. Hey, why don't we just move into the house? He just does it there. I mean, really? What was like? You're just so caught in that train of
that was a young version of me for sure. And looking back, it's like I can't believe that I did that, but now I know.
Now you know. If you had, what was it like working with me?
Fun, really fun.
What are my sets anything different than other sets, or am I guess every director is going to be different.
Everyone's different. You are a lot of fun to work with because you're so creative and you have so many ideas going on that we're just moving but you also are really seasoned. So you also know what's really important and what you can just move on from.
Sure.
I don't think that you get really hung up on something that's going to take us into overtime or take you over budget. Like, you know what you need.
Yeah.
And you know what's going to make the cut. I will say, I'm pretty sure most of the Yellow Wolf videos I've just blocked out. I don't even remember them anymore.
Because you did a couple for Mike Mahale, and then of course Sean Silva for like the Slamerican Diaries, right?
My God.
Dude, now that was a pretty rad little thing. I will say I did watch it. Troy and I watched it in Florida on a job. We just binge watched the whole doc. What was that like?
Slamerican? Well, I refused to go on the road because at that point I had already worked with Yellow Wolves in his camp many times. I was like, I'm not going on the road for this.
Sure.
I refuse. Like, I know what this is going to be like, and I just don't want to do that.
Wild times, for sure.
So I coordinated from Nashville.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
I did not know. I thought you were on the road.
No.
With Sean and Keith.
And Hefe. No. But it was insane. I mean, things were happening.
Climbing mountains and
they were in Hawaii. They were in New Orleans. They were everywhere.
Would you prefer producing now, where you've grown, where you are? Would you? Because this is kind of, I almost leaked it a few minutes ago. A lower budget, where you have less money, but you can move more freely and explore more freely, or do you prefer more of a bigger budget as a producer with the bigger budget, the production flex, but you also have plenty of money to play, but what that comes with,
right?
But as a producer, I guess
that's a tough one, because some of my favorite jobs have been with Silva, where it's me, him, Keith Lehman, Sean Collins, and a model, and we're in a van for 10 days. No no schedule, just driving around, literally not booking hotel rooms until we're like an hour away up from a city. And Sean's like, I guess we're going to stop here. And that is so fun.
Wow. Was that for that Kenny on the
that
bus?
That specifically was for the Kenny Chesney.
Yeah.
Not Knowing You. Oh my God, I don't remember the name of the song now.
But it was a beautiful video, right? Where she was like exploring herself and getting out in the
We went
the open.
from national. I mean, I saw places I've never seen, and I would have never.
Northern Lights or something.
Yes, I mean, we went to amazing places, and then on the Knowing You video for Kenny, we went to Gloucester, Massachusetts, and then to St. Croix, and it was a small crew.
You do a lot of that with Sean and them.
It's so fun.
Didn't you do like a doc for dogs with Kenny down in the islands? Because a lot of them were the hurricane.
Yes. Yeah. So we spent so much time in the islands just kind of documenting the recovery efforts after the hurricanes. And that, I mean, that kind of stuff is not necessarily going to make you the most money, but it is so fun.
Yeah.
And like you're just with your friends, having a good time, making music videos.
On the fly.
Yes, on the fly.
You know, hey, would it be cool if we got that yacht? I don't know. So figure it out. Okay, let me get a little,
and
whatever.
The pressure is much less.
Yeah.
But
because the expectations aren't there until that moment, and everybody understands if we can't get it, maybe we can try tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah.
Like we didn't even permit for any of the national parks that we filmed in. It was like, well, no, because number one, they're going to say, no, you can't bring a drone here.
So the interesting thing is, so as awesome as you just said that, that's where I've become in my productions.
Yeah.
I've done the big shows.
Mm-hmm.
I've built giant sound stages and had things falling down and all that stuff, you know, and I really enjoy a smaller footprint and a little bit more off the cuff to explore, knowing what you need to get, and you know, but you get these beautiful things, you know, without all the pressure. That's where I'm enjoying my videos. It's not that I can't go flex and go do the Musco lights and do everything.
Right.
I also know what that brings.
Right.
You know?
But on the other side of it, I do love a big production music video, or even, you know, we work a lot with Alex Chaloff, who creates amazing content, and most of the time we're on a soundstage and he is doing something crazy with a robot or whatever it is, and creating these amazing visuals that's also really rewarding and fun.
Have you ever had or can you recall a moment in your career thus far where you're standing on set and you're just like, it doesn't have to be big, it could be who, but you're just like,
yes,
this is awesome, and I am thankful and grateful to be doing this?
It was a couple years ago, and I'm pretty sure after all was said and done, me and Wesley paid to do this video. We did. It was a music video with John Carter. John Carter Cash was directing it. Yeah. But we were filming, Chris Christopherson was in the song. And we were filming Chris Christopherson in Malibu at the Floyd Wright Ranch, overlooking the ocean, and he's sitting there singing. And it was just this incredible moment where I was just like, I can't believe that I get to do this. Put a fork in me, I'm done. If I never work again after this, it was just, for me, that was, everyone has different highs. And
it was an intimate, honest moment, but it was serene and surreal. And
yes, just it's Chris Christopherson. It's Johnny Cash also is my pinnacle. And I was like, I'm working with John Carter Cash. This is just crazy to me. How did I get here? Yeah. This is so cool. Yeah.
From a production standpoint, from perspective, not the kind of jobs we just described where it was just more intimate and more free flowing. Mm-hmm. If a big job, the one you just did with Carrie Underwood and Cody Johnson for Dustin Haney, do you prefer? I mean, we discuss it. travel jobs like that, or working here in your city, because travel jobs bring a whole level of complexity when you're bringing a production of that sort, and or versus doing a job of similar size in your city where you can just whip up calls, have your own bed, but you don't get to be out into the in the environments like you would. Do you have a preference?
I mean, it's nice to be home. It is nice to be home. But, Dustin just took me to the middle of nowhere for a Parker McCollum video. And we went to a place called Anthony, Kansas. There is absolutely no production there. And so I do like the challenge of bringing the production to the middle of nowhere.
Sure.
I mean, it can be exhausting, but it's a challenge. Yeah. It's fun. It keeps it interesting. It's not so mundane.
But you got to have the budget to do that properly.
You absolutely do.
It's not something you can shortcut.
Yeah. So that was fun and that was cool, and we got some great stuff. And it was funny because when we're talking about closing down roads, the officers, I was talking to officers in different counties because we were filming in Anthony, Kansas, and then also in a place in Oklahoma. And so I was talking to different officers because we were shutting down roads, and they were asking okay, well, dirt or paved road? And I was like, paved. Why are they asking me that? And then I get to Anthony, Kansas, and I'm like, every road is a dirt road. That's why he's asking. I've never even seen this before. Roads that are real roads are all dirt roads. I was like, that's why they were asking me. Yeah. Okay. So, you just see things that,
So how do you budget for something that you haven't really seen? Are you just gonna, you got to kind of do some research, or
you do.
You scout ahead and then know that the budget might shift more?
Yes.
It's got to be.
You have to do the research. And I don't like just turning in a budget quickly for the sake of getting it done quickly. You're going to want to do the research. You're going to want to call the officers. You're going to want to call the city. Hey, what does it cost me? What are your fees? Is this even possible? Look at hotels in that area, flights, rental cars. You got to do research.
Would you say as a producer, even as a director, I feel like one of my traits is I'm always looking for the problem ahead of me, while doing my job. Therefore, if those problems even start to come at me, I'm already ahead of it. I feel like that has to be a producer's you're in the forefront of your mind. I mean, right? I mean, looking out has to be a big thing.
Yeah.
You can't just look right in front of you.
No, I'm an anxious person in general. And so I'm scanning.
Yeah.
I'm scanning for problems all the time.
Absolutely.
That's not necessarily a good thing, but it's what I do.
Well,
it's made me better at my job.
That's why there's no problems either.
It's made me better at my job, and it's not necessarily healthy in my personal life, but in my professional life, I'm scanning for problems. Yeah.
Did you do the Lainey Wilson Hardy Get in the Truck? Was that?
No.
Yeah, I didn't know. You did some. What are some? It was Patrick Tracy.
Recently, with Patrick, we did the Kelsey Ballerini videos.
That's right. Wow,
yeah,
beautiful.
Oh my God, they came out so good.
Wow, I am so impressed with Patrick's growth. I mean, maybe I didn't know a lot of it, but early comings before Tequila. You did Tequila.
Yeah.
Oh, let's talk about that in a second. But round in there before that, you're like, okay, I see his work is there, but it didn't quite hone in. Boy, around that Tequila, and then from then he did 1,000 Hours. Just when Dan and Shay's
Shay work
beautiful.
Is so I love it.
You did do Tequila. That was in where? Breckenridge, Colorado.
So fun. That was fun.
And there you go. That's
and like a challenge.
Oh, I bet.
And really a turning point in my career. I came across an email. I was looking for something, and I came across an email to somebody over at Warner, Mike Dupree.
Okay.
And I was turning in the budget for tequila. And I remember being so stressed. And it was $100,000.
Okay.
And I remember being like, he's going to hate me. I'm going to get in
no.
trouble.
Not for that video.
And it was just like, 100 is a great budget for a video. But back then, it was the biggest budget that we had ever done.
Sure. Okay.
And looking back now, I mean, just thinking about how scared I was and how we were like, we're going to fight for this budget because we need it and this video is going to be so good.
Yeah.
And, Mike's great to work with and he understood and he pushed it through for us and we did it. And things did get different after that.
Oh, yeah. For them as well.
Yeah.
Dan and Shay, Patrick, I'm sure you. Yeah. What was, I could imagine, let me think about the most of that video, the narrative and stuff was beautifully done. But when I think of like production, I think of that performance they did in the snow.
My God.
With a piano. I saw a piano. I'm like a giant basin of snow. And I'm like, wait a minute. I get how they shot the narrative, but that looks like a hall.
I wish I could pull up the BTS videos of that. We have a piece of plywood, like a huge piece of plywood, a couple of them, and we're essentially leapfrogging. So you roll the piano right out of the truck onto one piece of plywood, put another piece of plywood in front of it, push it, put another piece of plywood in front of it, push it. That's how we got it out there. It was crazy.
How far did you do that?
I don't know. I mean, it was pretty far. But there's actually another story behind that. We get out there. We're in the middle of nowhere in Breckenridge, this beautiful mountain. There's not a piano bench on the truck.
That's one of those small things.
That's one of the things.
Yeah. Of all things, we've got everything, all these people, all this talent, everything here. Damn.
There's no bench. So we're like, fuck. So Wesley runs over our car, hops in the car, drives to this close, I don't even know what it was anymore. Maybe like a ski rental place.
Oh, he took
just went in there and was like, I need a bench. They're like, huh?
$400 and I'll bring it back.
They had a bench of some sort.
Yeah.
There was a Pendleton blanket somewhere in someone's car. And I mean, it was absolutely insane that worked out. And that was one of those things that you think that you would learn a lesson from and it would never happen again. But years down the road, we're in the desert with Patrick in the middle of nowhere in California.
No bench.
But that was different because there was art department on that one. So that wasn't totally my fault, but
he's gonna have in his rider. There's gonna be a bench in everywhere they go.
There are a couple things like that. We're just like the bench.
Patrick did an amazing work with you guys did amazing work with Kelsey Ballerini.
Now that was a beast of a job.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
We shot that all over.
Well, we actually were just in Charleston, the Charleston area, and New York.
Okay.
But we were all over Charleston. 3 days in Charleston, 1 day, one overnight in New York City. And it was not small.
No. Is this your job or is it in tandem with stuff she's doing or is she there focused to do this?
This was specifically
great
for the videos and stills. They got stills and other content.
All the stuff, yes.
Specifically just for the videos. Another just for those of you out there wanting to be a producer.
Yeah.
It was a huge job, not like a small run and gun crew. I mean, full lighting, full camera, full art, all of it.
Gorgeous.
Turned out so beautiful.
So pretty.
Nick and Patrick and the whole team did such an incredible job.
He's coming. He just agreed to. He wants to come on the podcast. I love Nick. Yeah.
He'll have great stories, especially from that shoot specifically. And we worked so hard for it. We really did.
Is there a favorite moment?
Yes.
Okay. Come on, do tell. I like it.
There's actually two. I'm going to give you my high. I'm going to give you my low.
Yeah. Oh, okay, good.
So my high was We were filming at the Carlisle Hotel in New York City.
Oh.
And it was overnight, and we had to eat dinner,
Sure.
off-site at a church like a block away.
Okay.
So we're all making our way down to the lobby, and I'm in the elevator with a BTS person. And it's just like the last leg of this trip. I'm exhausted. I'm in the elevator. I'm just like, the door opens, and I go to get out, and he's like, hey, this isn't our floor. And I was like, oh. And then I'm just staring at the person on the other side of the elevator. And I was like, that looks like Ariana Grande's boyfriend. And I was like, it is. And then I looked over, and I was like, and it was Ariana Grande just staring me in the face. And I was like, and I could tell that my face went from like, and then the door just closes, and she starts laughing. They start laughing. They do not get on the elevator, and the door just closes. And I looked at the guy. I was like, was that? He was like, it was. And I was like, oh my God. And I felt so bad because Wesley had left to start another job.
Isn't he?
I was like, I'm so sorry that you missed this, but I have to tell you what happened. So that was really cool. Like, just like only in New York City.
Yeah.
Kind of moment. So that was fun. Okay, so here's a like producer story.
Sure.
That this job is not for the faint of heart.
Okay, yeah.
We did our tech scout, like, I don't know, maybe it was a week, not even a full week. We traveled in to do our tech scout, and then we traveled home.
Oh, okay.
And then went and did our job. We scout the location that you see in the video, the White House. It's owned by this guy who started Merck Pharmaceuticals.
Oh.
So he doesn't need the money, right?
Sure.
Something must have, maybe we asked too many things, like, hey, can we come in the house even though you don't really want us to come in the house? Hey, we're going to bring a grip truck and a crane and all of these things in your yard. Hey, can we put a carousel on your land?
I was wondering about this carousel. That's why I was going with the carousel.
So maybe we over asked. Well, we did our full tech scout. I'm sitting at the airport the next morning getting ready to fly to New York to scout New York. And I get a text. It was like 911 from the location scout. Hey, Tommy, he pulled out. He doesn't want you guys there anymore. I don't know what happened exactly, but he's just canning the whole thing. I was like, it was one of those moments where like, I was just like, I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to do right now. I have to make this happen. We have to make this location work. We just scouted it with the entire crew.
Spent an exorbitant amount of money.
Spent so much money traveling in to do this. I don't have the time or the resources to find another location. And so we worked it out, but he, for more money than we should have paid him.
Do you think that was a tactic? I mean, because I have found, and Troy, you're first one to say, I'm sure, locations.
Yeah.
Locations is where my anxiety is on all jobs.
Yeah.
All jobs.
Yeah.
Photo, directing, I don't care. It's locations.
Yeah.
And the reason I asked you earlier about do you prefer travel or not travel? Me, I prefer travel.
Yeah.
Because I believe so much is shot out here. So much is shot.
I agree.
So much is shot.
I agree.
There's just, and for no other reason, I'm losing inspiration in what I'm seeing.
Understandable.
So when I travel, even if it's some small little town in Georgia, I'm looking at it with wonder, fresh eyes. And even if it's an alleyway that is blah, 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 it's a fresh alleyway to me.
Yeah.
So to me, I can't wait when someone says, but it's not going to shoot in Nashville.
You're like,
not that I don't love Nashville. It's just, it's
right.
the charm with the new buildings, the permits. It's very difficult to shoot here.
Yeah. I mean,
and we're expensive.
It is. And I'm finding, I feel like the majority of my jobs have been out of town.
Mine too.
This year. Yeah.
Mine too.
Yeah. But yeah, locations is...
Permits and locations.
Locations is a bitch.
It's a doozy. Is that I mean, did your stomach sink when that text came through? Like, it's just like, it wasn't your fault. It's out of your control. But damn, you know, I mean, that kind of hit is like, it's just like a gut punch. We're like,
yeah. I mean, again, we're always learning.
yeah.
Maybe it was a learning lesson for me. Like, maybe we did ask too much.
Coming a little too strong.
Maybe we came in too strong. We had a location scout. I wasn't speaking directly with this person. He just said, I can ask. Yeah. But yes, when that text came through, I mean, I don't even know how to explain how I felt in that moment.
Yeah,
but
no,
it's
that's
not
what
good.
you wanted to go quit and crawl under a rock.
It's just
maybe this
like,
isn't for me. You know what? Hey, Forrest, you want to go move to Wyoming?
It really, and I think every position on set has those moments, you know. But as the producer, no matter what happens, you feel like the buck stops here. It doesn't matter if it's not your fault or if it is your fault. The buck stops here. I am the problem solver.
Yeah.
If so and so broke this piece of equipment or whatever, I hired so and so. Everything comes back to the producer.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
Do you prefer, with that said, let's switch into, do you prefer music videos or commercials? And the reason I say that is because commercials, for whatever reason, well, I can name the reasons, but are much more structured or much more, you do know the quote unquote movie that is being made the whole way through. Right. Yeah, you got to discuss in meetings and Zooms and stuff, but I feel like in commercials, every line item is accounted for, where in music videos, you might skip a few, right?
Right.
You don't need, I had said earlier, I don't need an AD on this job or something. Commercials, Right. Do you have a not a preference? I mean, they're both different. They both have their yin and their yangs, but as you get older and more seasoned.
Well, I got into this business because I wanted to be in the music business. So I am much more drawn to music videos or music-related content of any kind. Yeah. I really, really like my music clients. I love my label clients. They're fun. They're fun to work with. We're like-minded people, it feels like. They don't really get all in their feelings about certain things. Sure. They go with the flow a little bit.
I couldn't agree more with you. I feel like if you look at my music trajectory to my commercial trajectory, it's almost obsolete, and it's not that way for no reason. I've obviously focused and gravitated more towards like-minded people in the music industry. I just didn't know. I mean, I do like commercials.
Me too.
I do like enjoy wearing that hat.
I do too. You know, and
it's definitely a different hat. It's more of a technician hat for me.
100%.
You know, I enjoy going into that right side of the brain and being like more exact and more precise.
Right. Yeah, I like commercials. It is, like I was saying, we've been working with Alex Trelloff a lot lately, and his area is really cool because we work a lot with Fender with him. So it's creating commercial content for them, but they're music people. So that's been a really cool. Combination of the two. Yeah. But yeah, I love the music business. Yeah, I do.
How about nowadays? I'm seeing a lot of I guess virtual screen videos. Yeah.
Most directors don't tend to be drawn to that.
And I could imagine from a producer who loves to all your stories you've shared, like you kind of want to be out on location, right?
I do like being boots on the ground out there.
Yeah, exactly. Do you see yourself getting into TV and movie, building your production, building you and Wesley building into something? Atlanta, you know, we got movies right around the corner. Are we still sticking with the music?
Again, music business is really where my passion is. I could see, music related films being really passionate about that. Documentaries, biopics, things like that. I could see myself and Wesley getting into.
What is it about music that you think has you hooked?
I grew up with my dad working in the music business. And I loved, it's interesting because growing up, I loved music. Listen to music all the time. I was such a fan. I was like the ultimate fan.
Yeah.
And I listened to all kinds of music. I mean, I grew up on 90s country.
Sure.
But I was an NSYNC girly, a Backstreet Boys girly, but then I was also like a, emo girly, Good Charlotte girly. Like I listened to everything and I loved everything. And now I feel like I never listen to music.
Oh my, or the jobs you do probably, or.
I mean, it's just, I'm immersed in it all the time and I still love it. But in my car, I've got a podcast on.
This podcast, of course.
Sometimes this podcast. So that's interesting. And I used to go to concerts all the time. That was like one of my favorite things to do. And you have to be careful to not take it for granted.
Oh yeah.
Because at work, I get to go to concerts all the time.
I do take it for granted. I almost don't go to shows if I'm not backstage, or I don't want to have to fight the crowd.
Right.
But when I do find myself in the crowd going to a show, I come home and I'm stoked because I was a fan.
Yeah.
I was a fan.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that made me feel good. Oh yeah, I got one. This is a personal one because I don't know why. Do you? How long have you been in doing this?
Almost 15 years.
15 years, right? Good. What's your biggest pet peeve in our business? Just one. I'll go off grid right now. I'll say mine. Unanswered texts or phone calls for me are I go crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody is on their phones.
Yeah.
And if I'm reaching out, then it's not for the weather. And if you don't have an answer, that's fine. Hit me back. It's
no stone unturned.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you look at my phone, there's no red. Yeah. I hit it all back somehow.
Yeah.
That's my little pet peeve, and it's a pet peeve. There's no. There's reasons for why people aren't getting to you, but it's just like me.
Of course. Yeah. No, I get that. Oh gosh, what's my biggest pet peeve? Crafty shopping. I hate crafty shopping.
Yeah,
I will do
why?
everything in my power to never have to do it again.
Okay. Is that because of... So she said crafty shopping, getting food for craft service.
Oh, which brings me maybe to like my real pet peeve. And this is not going to probably go over well with a lot of people.
Oh, it's fine.
The dietary restrictions on set.
Oh, yeah.
At some point, just bring your own food. If you're soy-free, dairy-free, gluten-free, everything-free. And I am a huge proponent of health and wellness.
Sure you are.
Huge proponent of health and wellness. But at some point, just bring your own food. Just bring your own food.
Yeah. How about, because you're a dog lover.
Yeah.
You're I've stopped because I didn't want to think I was crazy saying funny bulldog things. But I always think of you when I see a bulldog. I'm like, that's Christen.
I love them.
What about bringing dogs to set? Dogs to work?
They don't bother me.
Yeah.
They don't, as long as they're not causing a distraction. I mean, it's very rare that I will bring my dog to set. I had to a couple times this summer because my husband was out of town. So I brought Fancy, my little bulldog, to a couple sets. I would rather just not have the distraction for me.
For sure.
But others, I mean, that doesn't bother me at all. I like them. Yeah.
When I see dogs at post facilities or production companies, it's okay when it's once or twice.
Sure.
Look, the vet, or I have to be here and then I have to leave.
Right.
I get it.
Right.
But when it's just because I can.
Right. Oh, I mean,
Okay, all right, a little bougie, but whatever.
again,
Just a little.
I would rather not have the distraction for myself.
Yeah, I know. So, what advice would you give to someone who's trying to get into this business, but wants to that might not feel they are super creative behind cameras and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. But want to be in it and a producer? What advice would you give this person?
I would say you just buckle up if you really want to be in it. Buckle up, because you have to give it everything. And again, this might not be a popular opinion, but to create a successful business, in my opinion, it doesn't ordinarily come easily.
No.
And you have to give it your all.
Sure.
And coming up in this business, it took priority over everything.
Yeah.
My relationships, family, friendships. And I don't regret it, because I think it did put me where I am now, which, like I was saying, now I can design my life a little bit more freely than most people that I know.
Yes.
But it is a grind, and it's hard, and you will be stressed, and a lot, you have to just love it, because that's the reward. And, you know, a producer isn't necessarily going to get rich, right?
Yeah.
But I am rich in life experiences. The things that I've got to do with all of these directors is just incredible. I mean, I have the most amazing memories. I have really tough, scary memories, but
highly respected by everyone.
Just, I mean, I do wish, I feel like now I am undoing, the past couple of years I've been like undoing what I put my body through. My physically and mentally, I've been undoing those things and going to therapy, working out. I've gotten really into health and wellness. Wesley is so tired of me, probably. I'm constantly talking about food and nutrition, and, you know, I listen to podcasts all the time about it. So I will say I don't regret at all what I've put into the business, because it's given me so much. I wish back then I had the tools that I do now to kind of combat those really stressful, hard times.
Sure. Yeah. I'm honored that you came on the podcast. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. Oh my
That
gosh,
was
so
a
good
great
to
story.
see you.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.